Hello everybody, it's me Scoop, and Borderlands is actually not as bad as Harold and the Purple Crayon. Although, let's be fair, it's really not saying all that much. Now this movie, I just find really fascinating because there was a lot of interest in it based on the original script. That's how it got such a massive, over $100 million budget under Lionsgate, and it got a bunch of actual, really well-respected and popular lead actors and actresses. But then Eli Roth signs on as director and comes in with a bunch of really hard rewrites and just derails the whole film. What he did here was so bad, the lead writer took his name off the movie. He used one of the funniest, fakest names I've ever seen that was just immediately noticeable in the credits, and I genuinely cannot fathom what happened here to make this movie so bad compared to the original script. But what's far more interesting about all of this to me is that it doesn't feel like the product of one director with a horrible but united vision, something like a Snyder film, where I personally despise Snyder films. I love to hate on them, but the reason it's fun to hate on a Snyder film is because Zack actually does come in with a really straightforward, solid vision. He knows what he wants, and he does it the same way every single time with a consistent level of quality, even if I personally find that level of quality to be dog shit. Here with Borderlands, it feels like the vision of a guy who had no idea what they were doing. Borderlands tries really hard to be cool, but there is just zero sauce to be found in this film. It is just so lame. There's no subtlety or depth to any of its characters, and the story just chugs along from anywhere to pretty boring to downright nonsensical. Now, the reason we're all here today is to answer one simple question. Does Borderlands deserve a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes? And the answer to that question is no. But it's still really bad. With a score this abysmally low, and the fact that for a while the only reason it wasn't at 0% was because I got one positive review from a renowned, horrible critic, is so funny to me. But like I said, this isn't any delicious garbage. This is just a boring movie. So Cate Blanchett is playing Lilith, a bounty hunter hired to go to the planet Pandora, not the good one, and rescue Tiny Tina, who's already being protected by Kevin Hart, playing a soldier named Roland, who was hired by the same person who hired Lilith to get his daughter Tiny Tina, so that Tiny Tina can open this super duper hidden vault on Pandora. So they decide to team up to open the vault without the wealthy rich guy so that he can not get the stuff in there and rule the universe, something like that. It's not particularly clear what happens when he gets this stuff in there. It's just bad. Somehow, this movie has both a fuck ton of exposition and also gives you no information about what is going on or any information about any of its characters. Evil rich guy wants magic space ball so he can rule the universe. Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad ripoff shenanigans ensue. That's all that we needed. It didn't have to be that complicated of a setup. So this movie opens with a lot of really weird, confusing exposition that also doesn't explain anything about the finale, because by the time we get to the finale, it's just throwing absolute nonsensical shenanigans at the screen. The absolute worst part about Borderlands, bar none, is that this movie is the CEO of telling over showing. Every character here is just so goddamn flat because all they do is talk about exactly what they're thinking or feeling. There's no nuance, no subtlety to anything going on here. It is all so straightforward and so boring. And this movie doesn't exactly shy away from trying to do some more weighty world building and character exploration stuff. It's just, it doesn't do anything to make these concepts interesting or just work at all, or even just make sense? Spoilers, but who cares, because you're not watching this movie anyway, once again. But Tiny Tina is actually a clone who was made by the rich guy based off of this piece of ancient DNA, because only a descendant from this DNA can open the vault, so she's supposed to be this magic special one, and he tortured all of her other clone siblings and killed them all. And the reason I know this is because there's a scene where Tiny Tina just kind of sits down and talks to Lilith and just says all of this, and Lilith is like, oh man, that really sucks. There's no on-screen flashback, there's nothing. It's just two characters sitting there on a gross little balcony having an extremely emotional moment with each other with like no emotion being shown from either of the actresses. This movie just really puts in no work to get the audience to care about anything going on here. And in the end, it's revealed that Lilith is actually the special one, not Tina, which is somehow both so obvious and so nonsensical that it's actually impressive. Because of the fact that we get no info on any of these characters unless they just randomly decide to sit down and explain their whole backstory out of nowhere like Tina, the moment they mentioned that Lilith's mother, who abandoned her so she could get off of Pandora and be as far away from the vault as possible, I was immediately like, oh, she has to be the special one, the only one who could open the vault. Why else would they specify her mother not only wanted her away from Pandora, but from the vault specifically? And I'm correct, that's exactly what it was. So like I said, the special one needs to be the daughter of something, descendant from something. I don't really know. It's not particularly clear. So I don't know how Lilith could possibly be this person. We don't get a peep about her father. We don't know her mother's history or why they're on Pandora in the first place. If Lilith is this special one, like why her mom would take her to Pandora, where the vault is anyway. Like, we don't get any backstory, anything like that to make this twist make the slightest bit of sense. And the moment it's revealed, Lilith gets a whole bunch of crazy powerful superpowers, and everyone looks at her like, oh, this is the beacon of hope we've all been waiting to see on the planet Pandora, as if this is some big thing that we should have known was coming when she opened the vault, that she would get all these powers and become this phoenix-like figure, when once again, absolutely no setup. This just happens and you're expected to go along with it. And another really important reason for why this movie is just so boring is that there's absolutely zero stakes. The stakes are, guy gets whatever is in this vault, we don't really know what it is, and he rules the universe, and the only time there's ever a threat is that, oh, the main characters might die. But they never take any damage at any point during the movie. For example, Tiny Tina, her thing is that she uses these stuffed animal bombs, and we see multiple times that one of these bombs could clear a whole room of like the toughest bad guys that they face. So there's a moment where she gets really mad at Lilith because you gotta have the main group breaking up right before the climax of the movie, and she throws one of these things in Lilith's face and it explodes, and Lilith just gets knocked out for like 2 hours. This is before she gets her superpowers, by the way. So as far as I know, she's just supposed to be a normal person in this scene, and yet she doesn't even have a scratch on her, let alone getting disintegrated like we've seen from all the other people. In another scene, Kevin Hart's character, Roland, who's actually like the only decent character in the whole movie, Kevin Hart's actually doing a pretty good job here, because you have all these really boring and annoying wackadoodles, and he's playing a relatively straight character, fairly honor-bound, very conscious-minded soldier. I really liked that, actually. But anyway, his character is supposed to sacrifice himself, taking on this whole army of bad guys in a tunnel, and we see he just gets absolutely plowed by these dudes. And the movie cuts away. Obviously, you can't see him die because he doesn't really die. But then when they finally cut back to him, like 10 minutes later or whatever, he climbs out from under this massive pile of dudes. The movie makes that joke, not me. And there's, once again, not a single scratch on him. How do you have a character walking away from a fake-out death scene without even a minor injury? Why do the fake-out death scene at all at that point? And then to make matters even worse, the moment Lilith gets her superpowers, the first thing she does is cast a fucking invulnerability shield around all the other main characters so that during the final battle, they literally can't get hurt. I mean, what a great way to establish a thrilling and fun climax. Make all of your characters invulnerable to damage. Awesome work. Kevin Hart also comes into the final battle a little late. He drops off of a helicopter, and it's the lamest shot ever. It's just kind of angled up a little bit. He slides down a little rope and jumps off, and that's about all we get. And the villain even makes a comment about how cool his entrance is, and the joke is not funny and just infinitely more embarrassing based on the fact that his entrance wasn't cool. If the film had actually done anything with its camera work or its music or its color or just anything to make this a cool entrance, then maybe the joke would be funny. But he just fucking slides in. Like I said, zero sauce to be found in the whole movie. And I shit you not, at the end of the movie, the villain gets into the vault and he makes this whole speech in front of Lilith and Tina about how he's so powerful now, and no one can possibly stop him now that he has the powers in the vault. And there's nothing in the vault! He's literally in a giant empty room monologuing about how powerful he is thanks to the vault, and there's nothing in it. There's just some floating blocks and stuff that they don't even acknowledge, and then a giant tentacle comes out of the ground and drags him away, And that's it. That's how he gets defeated. There was never any hint like, oh, be careful. Legends have it. Once you go into the vault, it's guarded by a ferocious creature. Nothing. There's just a giant tentacle that comes out of the ground and drags him away. And Lilith and Tiny Tina are like, oh, well, thank God that's dealt with. Let's get out of here. You're telling me your whole movie, the whole setup of the setting, is that all of these people are willing to just Mad Max murder each other nonstop for the slightest chance to get the powers that lie in this vault. And the whole movie is based around, oh my God, if you get into that vault, you're ultra powerful. And when we finally get in there, you don't even tell us what is in the vault? What? Okay, I'm sorry. I need to take a minute here. I wasn't even this mad when I was writing it, but reading my script and my review out loud, just saying what happens in this movie out loud is making me lose my mind. I mean, this movie is just insanely nonsensical. And the fact that this comes after like an hour and 15 minutes of just boring nothingness is kind of the best part, because at the very least, the movie's not boring the whole way through. Like, at least the ending gets to be some delicious garbage, but I just don't understand how this happens. Like I said, the fact that it was one guy who came in and derailed the movie so hard just to not have any vision or any cohesion for the film. It is so baffling to me. Okay, so rating time. You're probably expecting 1 star. But no, actually, I'm gonna give this movie 2 stars because I really only focused on the plot failings of the finale, when in reality, for a vast majority of the runtime, I was kind of confused about its 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, because up until that point, yeah, it was really boring, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't really incompetent. I was just like, okay, the characters are flat, the plot is kind of nothing, the movie just looks fine, the performances are all fine. It was just such a nothing burger that I can't really give it 1 star like Harold and the Purple Crayon. It just doesn't seem fair. So I have to give it the 2 stars of just don't bother. There's nothing here to enjoy. Maybe if it comes to streaming, you could check out those last 30 minutes or so, because you don't even need context going into it, because the movie doesn't give you context. You can just get in there and enjoy the nonsensical reveals and the invulnerability shields for the climax and all that wonderful nonsense. I'm sorry, Eli Roth. This is a fat L, buddy, but you're gonna have to take it. I just really want some kind of expose on the behind the scenes of this movie, just what happened here with this guy coming in and derailing everything for nothing. I'm dying to know what happened. It's just bland. Bland, nonsense ending. That's it, baby. That's all I got for you. Like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you enjoyed it even more than that, and keep it crispy.